joined now by the Conservatives. We have the Shadow Paymaster General, Richard Holden. Good morning, Mr Holden. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I wonder if we could start by just asking about the breaking news.
Good morning. Delighted to be on with you.
Thank you. Lovely to have you. Can we start with the breaking news overnight relating to President Biden's son, Hunter? Now, he has given him a presidential pardon, an absolute pardon, which I believe covers all possible future misdemeanours as well. Is this just undermining the whole judicial process? It's not something we would ever really do here, is it?
No, it's certainly something that we don't do here. We have that proper separation of the judiciary here in the UK. Look, the Americans have their own system. I know President Trump did some pardoning of people when he was in. President Biden has. All different presidents have. But it's definitely not something that we're looking to ever be introducing here in the UK.
Can I ask you, please, about these stories emerging over the weekend that there is fear in the Conservative Party that Elon Musk over in America could donate as much as $100 million, around £70 million sterling, to your rivals at Reform UK. Is there fear within the Conservative Party about that?
Well, I would say to anybody who's thinking of donating to Reform, exactly what I said to people during the general election. If you vote or support Reform, all you're going to do is help Labour. I think that's very clear from what we saw in the general election. It played out in seats, in hundreds of seats across the country, and ended up with Labour getting that supermajority. So I'd say exactly the same to Elon Musk. I'd say, look, if you want to see Keir Starmer out of office, then more broadly, whether it's yourself or anybody else, you've got to support the Conservatives. It's us who are head-to-head with Labour in those realistic fights up and down the country. That's the message I would give. And I think it's a really important one as well at this moment in time, because we're seeing this Labour government absolutely collapsing on all those key issues right across the board. We're seeing another relaunch today. We've had the missions, we've had the pledges. Now we don't even know what we're going to get on Thursday. All we do know, though, is that Labour, when it comes to the budget, are taking it out on British business, they're taking it out on pensioners, they're taking it out on our farmers and food security. So there's a lot that we've got to fight back on in Parliament, and we're going to be holding them to account on that with our debates on Wednesday. We're going to be forcing them into those votes, and I really hope that some Labour MPs think again.
I just wanted to pick up, before we go into some of the details about the reset coming this week from Labour, just more on this Musk-Farage situation. I mean, at the moment, it's against the law for foreign investors, parties, to donate huge amounts of capital to people's political ambitions in this country. There could be a workaround in this case because, of course, Musk has X in this country, a British arm of it, and he would be able to donate potentially that way. Do you think that that is acceptable? Do you think that there should be workarounds? Do you think that foreign individuals should be able to get involved in the British political system?
So my understanding is that foreign individuals can't get involved, but if businesses are legitimately making money in this country, then if their board approves it, then they can donate funds. But as I said just before, look, it's quite clear to me that the next election is going to be, you're going to see either Kemi Badenoch as Prime Minister, or you're going to see Sir Keir Starmer and his cabinet of cronies remaining as Prime Minister. And it's going to be a very similar, in some ways, to that choice as at the last general election. And we saw what happened then. So I'd say to anybody who wants to get rid of Keir Starmer, you've got to vote Conservative. Obviously, over the next couple of years, we're going to be further outlining our policies. We can see the direction of travel we're taking now. That really strong pushback against Labour in Parliament and on the media, and we're going to take the fight to them every step of the way.
OK, Richard, let me just ask you about these comments from Keir Starmer at the tail end of last week. He accused your party of running a one-nation open borders experiment. He's not wrong, is he?
Well, I mean, we can see exactly what's happened with immigration under Keir Starmer's watch. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to any GB News viewers at all. We've seen immigration soaring, more than 20,000 illegal arrivals already under Labour's watch. That's more than at any point from a similar period previously. Now they're blaming the weather. Obviously, that's got some impact. You know, if there are choppy seas, people can't cross. But when you take the year as a whole, it's quite clear that under Labour we're seeing at least a 15, I think up to 20% increase in the equivalent.
I think he was talking about legal migration.
Years. We obviously had our Rwanda scheme, which Labour scrapped before we could even get it off the ground, which had provided that proper deterrent. And without a deterrent, you cannot deal with the issue. And it also looks like Labour are basically, as part of this, junking one of those, I think it was one of those missions that Starmer said, which was to end illegal immigration, alongside junking his pledge to make Britain the fastest growing economy in the G7. Wherever you turn, Labour are backtracking, U-turning, and we've got to hold them to account, and we've got to provide that competent opposition, and therefore then that platform for government down the line.
We are expecting this big speech from the Prime Minister this week, this reset. He's going to be focusing on 5 particular areas, and lots of people saying that it reminds him a little bit of when Rishi Sunak came out and made his 5 pledges, and we all know how that ended up being quite a politically naive move on his behalf. He was used to always succeeding and achieving everything he set out to do, and it just turned out he couldn't stop the boats. It was such a nebulous phrase, and, you know, ultimately he did not succeed in doing that. So are you watching on thinking, oh, gosh, I don't know why you're coming out and making these pledges? It's a lot harder to do than it might sound.
What I would say on that is that when at the back end of 14 years of coalition and then minority Conservative and then majority Conservative government after COVID and everything, I think it was pretty clear, especially with the infighting in the Conservatives at the time, that people had stopped listening to us. But that was after 14 years. It feels a very strange situation that after 14 weeks and already, I think, 17 relaunches of his own policies since he became leader, but 14 weeks as Prime Minister, Keir Starmer is having to do a major relaunch. Now, we had an issue, I think, in government that people had stopped listening. I think it's quite clear that people are listening to Keir Starmer and they're really not liking what they hear, whether it's pensioners losing their winter fuel payment just as winter starts to bite, whether it's businesses and charities up and down the country seeing huge additions to their wage bill, costing jobs with that national insurance tax hike, or whether it's just working people who are going to see their wages cut and going forwards because of those national insurance tax rises as well, or whether it's our farmers who are being hammered. And we're going to keep holding the government to account. We've got votes on Wednesday this week. I hope MPs from all sides of the House will be there to hold this Labour government that is failing to account and not let them get away with this ridiculous relaunch.
As will we, Richard. We've got the government coming on a little bit later on this morning. Thanks very much. Interesting, he didn't manage to stop the boats, but Rishi Sunak did manage to stop them listening. That was the Shadow Paymaster General, Richard Holden. Thanks very much indeed for your time this morning.
Yeah, and of course, Labour would say £22 billion black hole. That's why we've had to do all these things and reset.
Well, it was actually really interesting. I had a chat with the former Chancellor last night.
Yeah. What was he like?
Lovely to chat to, yeah. And Jeremy Hunt was telling me that he realised and has realised since the budget that Rachel Reeves, his successor as Chancellor, is not New Labour, as she claimed during the election, but actually she is old Labour.
There we go.
Make of that what you will.
Another porky. And what about that £22 billion black hole? Is he still in private insisting that was the case? That's absolute rubbish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. Last time I spoke to Jeremy Hunt, I doorstepped him about COVID and shoved a microphone in his face. So I saw him last night and kind of sheepishly scuttled away. But, yeah, funny.
He's very nice. Very nice.
Seems like a nice chap.
Right.